Around 1 a.m., Ethan was lying in bed playing on his phone when he suddenly heard a faint creaking sound coming from the window beside him. At first he thought it was just the wind, but when he stood up to check, his heart nearly stopped. A pale face was pressed against the glass. Someone was staring directly at him from outside. Ethan jumped back in shock. The person at the window had a pale expression and a strange, almost unnatural smile. When he looked closer, he froze. It looked exactly like his mother. "Mom, why are you walking around so quietly?" "You scared me," Ethan said nervously. The woman outside the window spoke calmly. "I came to see if you were asleep. Why did you close the window?" But the moment she finished speaking, Ethan realized something was terribly wrong. His cousin's wedding was tomorrow, and his mother had already gone to his uncle's house the day before to help prepare. She wasn't supposed to be home at all. Trying to stay calm, Ethan looked back toward the window. The woman's face was still pale, her strange smile hanging at the corner of her mouth as she stared at him without blinking. "It's hot tonight. Open the window," she said softly. Ethan didn't dare question the woman who looked exactly like his mother. Instead, he forced himself to sound normal. "It's raining, and I feel cold. Mom, you should go to sleep. I'm going to bed, too." He tried to keep the fear out of his voice. The woman stared at him silently for a long moment. When she realized he had no intention of opening the window, she slowly stepped away. Just when Ethan thought it was finally over, knocking suddenly echoed from the front door. His heart leaped into his throat. "Mom, do you need something?" he asked carefully. "Ethan," the voice outside replied softly. "Open the door for Mom." "No, it's too late. Let's talk tomorrow," Ethan said quickly. The voice outside fell silent. Shaking, Ethan grabbed his phone. It was already 2:30 a.m. He tried to call his father in the next room for help, but the screen showed no signal. At that exact moment, a voice spoke again. "Ethan, who are you calling?" He slowly turned toward the window. Somehow the woman had returned without making a single sound. She stood outside again, staring directly at the phone in his hand. Terrified, Ethan stumbled backward. "Who are you? What do you want?" The woman's expression twisted into something horrifying. "I'm your mother," she whispered. "Ethan, open the door." Her fingers began scratching violently across the glass, producing a sharp screeching sound. Ethan screamed desperately, hoping to wake his father in the next room. Normally his dad was a light sleeper, but strangely, no matter how loud Ethan shouted, there was no response. His screams only seemed to anger the creature. The woman suddenly began slamming her head against the window. Bang! Blood splattered across the glass. But she didn't stop. Again and again she smashed her head into the window, leaving streaks of dark red across the glass. Soon the entire window was covered in blood. Ethan sat frozen in terror. At this rate, the glass would eventually break. Then suddenly, the banging stopped. Outside the window, he could only hear the woman's heavy breathing and a strange rasping sound from her throat. After a moment, she began to laugh softly. "Time's up. You're lucky tonight," she whispered. "Mom will come see you again tomorrow night." Then everything outside went silent. Ethan stayed frozen on his bed for a long time before slowly approaching the window to check if she was really gone. But the moment he pressed his face to the glass, a pair of white, pupilless eyes suddenly appeared outside, staring straight at him. Ethan's heart nearly stopped. Darkness swallowed his vision. When he woke up again, it was already noon the next day. He walked out of his room and saw his father calmly preparing lunch. Ethan carefully observed every detail of his father's face. After what happened last night, he no longer trusted anyone. Trying to act natural, he asked, "Dad, did you sleep well last night?" "Pretty well," his father replied casually. "Didn't you say you wanted tomato and scrambled eggs yesterday?" "I forgot, but I'll cook it tonight." The moment Ethan heard those words, a chill ran down his spine. He had never asked for that. In fact, Ethan had been allergic to eggs since childhood, and his father knew it better than anyone, which meant the person in front of him might not be his real father either. Keeping his fear hidden, Ethan forced a smile. "I'm going to the community testing station first," he said. "I'll eat when I get back." As soon as he left the apartment complex, Ethan finally got a phone signal again. The first thing he did was call his real mother, who was still at his uncle's house for the wedding, because now he knew one thing for certain. Something had entered his home last night, and it was pretending to be his family.